Hey Reggae family, thanks for tuning in. We're going to look at a full reggae mix. This will be done in a couple or few videos, not all at once. The mix is done, so we're just going to walk through what I did. I got to thank R&L Music for sending me this song to mix, and Ija Reese, the singer, entrusting me with his works here. Big shout out to Skungo Kong for the connection, always looking out for me. Musicians on this, let's just take a quick run through. We have Kirkledove Bennett on drums, Flabba Holt on bass, Robbie Lynn on keys, Monty Savory on guitars, horns by O'Keel McIntyre and O'Shane Love, Nicky Burke on backing vocals, and this was recorded by Michael Boxy Howell. So let's take a listen to the dry tracks, and then we'll turn on the processing to hear the finished mix, okay? Right, there's the raw sound for you. First thing I did really was I adjusted the levels roughly, I set my panning, and then I set up my mix bus. So we're just going to turn on all the processing now, and then we'll start walking through the mix, okay? So there you have the finished sound. Going to turn off our processing again. Let's take a look at the mix bus, what I did here. This we can get rid of. I had that on only for bouncing out demo mixes. That was a master limiter. So first thing, I used this plugin in Cubase called Razor. Sorry, was bad levels there. It is not kicking in 10 dB at any point. This is a limiter, and it's really just catching peaks. Let's take a listen. You'll see it possibly not even working here in the beginning section. Okay, so it hasn't kicked in. It still shows reduction of 0 dB. It is not set to make big adjustments or to be really boost the volume. I just have it set to catch a few peaks here and there, okay? It's a handy tool to have on your mix bus if you're not pushing it hard. Next thing, I use this compressor for master bus compressor. This is Kush Audio Silica. We're set at a 4:1 ratio. There is a high pass filter on at 100 hertz so that the bass is not making the compressor overwork at any point, filtering out those low ends on the side chain. There's also a little boost on this on the high end at 3.5 kilohertz. I used this preset to start with. It's called Punchy Bottom Soft Top, and that's why it's called Soft Top, because it is boosting the side chain a little bit and letting the compressor soften that high end a touch there. Okay, I adjusted the attack and the release a bit to my taste. I made it slower than it was on the attack, so that a little more the initial attack and the punch gets through. And the release is at 73.2 milliseconds. It's pretty quick. You're going to notice also a volume boost here on this. So let's listen with and without it. Too much blood in a calm down. Too much blood, too much blood, too much blood in a. So there's that. It's not doing a lot of work, as you see. It's between 1 and maybe, I don't know what this is, maybe 3.5 dBs or so. or 3 dBs. It's not a huge amount of gain reduction there, okay? And again, not being too fast, it's not killing any peaks, it's just helping to smooth out the overall performance. Then I also put on this tape processor, T-Rax Tape Machine 80. I'm putting a little bit of a high boost in. So these all default to 0.5, 0.5 neutral. I'm just at 0.6 high frequency boost and a bit of a low frequency boost out, 0.7. I'm at 30 IPS on the tape speed. I'm using the tape 456 formula and I'm pushing it a bit hard. So let's listen to this.
Calm down. Too much blood. Whoa. Too much blood. Innocent life get taken away. Taken away. What the leaders have to say. I wanna know. Only Jah can help us in this time. I just wanna cry. Why? Too much blood around. Too much blood in a calm down.
Again, that's just adding a little bit of glue, a little bit of overall processing, you know, that the whole song is running through. It's helping it to sound as a finished product a bit. You hear a bit of difference on the EQ, of course. It's sounding a little bit darker with this on. But as we mix the individual tracks where we want them, that effect kind of gets minimized a bit. So let's mute some tracks here. Okay, so I usually start out with the kick soloed and then I just start adding everything else in. So let's see what we're doing on the kick here. Console 1, we have it. I use this a lot, Soft Tubes Console 1. I just like the hands-on impact of it, of course, being able to use it like that. I have the gate set, we have a compressor, and then we have the EQ. That's the order it's in. You can see here a block order shape, compressor, equalizer. So although it doesn't change the view up here, but the compressor is before the EQ. So let's turn off the EQ and compressor. Let's just turn off as well the input. I have the sustain down a bit as well, so I'm controlling the length of the kick with that sustain, okay? Not just the gate alone. The gate is basically gating out the bleed through noise, and the sustain is cutting the sound of the kick down, shortening it somewhat. Right, so you can hear there when I turn the sustain back to 0, it's not a huge impact, but it's just making that kick a little more short, help it sound a little more punchy in the mix. Okay, now let's hear the compressor. Okay, I have the compressor kind of level matched there now because it was giving it a boost. But you can hear that we are getting a bit more of a punchy sound on that. I like this compressor. I'm using the British Class A compressor here, which is a Neve style. The EQ is the standard SSL style EQ, the default channel strip for Console 1, as well as the shaping section is the gate is based on the SSL 4000E. Let's kick in the EQ now. So you can see by the waveform there's not a lot of mid in this. It's been pulled out, which is great. Usually I do have to pull out a good bit of the mids from some kick, the low mids, to get rid of that muddiness. It's already been done here on the tracking, so they did a good job. I just boosted the low end a bit, 46 hertz, 3.2 dB, and boosted the high end, 4.6 kilohertz, 8.9 dB, to get some more snap from the beater on the head. Right, so just a bit more heaviness there on the low end. And, you know, these things could be within a range. That high end, I could have left the high end off, really, and it would sound fine in the mix. I just wanted it a little bit more on this song. That's all. I wanted a bit more of that snap. Okay, then I have Trident A range kicked in, and I'm using this just for the saturation, and it's adding a little bit of sound on the attack due to the saturation. Let's check that out. So all I'm doing there is controlling some peaks with the saturation, and then I've turned up the volume again. So the peak output level is the same pretty much, but it's cutting a couple dB, then I'm adding a couple dB overall. So I'm getting a little more, you know, I'm using it like a clipper. And there are certain saturation plugins that work good for that. All saturation plugins, you know, are going to cut the peaks for you anyways. But some work better than others on specific sounds. I like the Trident on drums. So it's a bit transparent. It's not making a big difference to the sound, but it is helping out overall. Now we're going to go to the bass, okay? And I like to do the bass next because I just want to hear it as I'm working on the song, actually. And I want to be feeling the groove with the rest of the instruments. So that's the raw bass sound. That's how it was sent to me. So I did put on, it's a bit distorted. I'm told they went direct through the mixer with this. And so it might have been driving a bit hard on the input. So I put quite a big high-end cut, a low pass on this at 304 hertz. So that cleans that up nice. I put a little low-end cut, 26.9 hertz. You're not going to hear that, honestly. It's just to keep the low end clean, to keep any real rumble from coming out down there. Then I did a bit of a cut, 126 hertz, 5.5 dB cut, and a boost at 47 hertz, 4.3 dB. Then on console 1, I gave another little cut around 72 hertz. The bass is a bit boomy. And we have the compressor. The compressor is hitting after everything, just giving a bit of smoothness. The sound is well played already and possibly compressed when they recorded it somewhat. So I didn't go too crazy with the compressor. I just wanted to add a little bit of smoothness, a little bit of cream on top type of thing. All right, so overall, it's a pretty high, low end sounding bass, very subby. It's very powerful as it is. And hearing it by itself, you might not be too impressed, but it works great in the mix as we go along, and we will hear. Let's move on to the rim shot now. Once again, I'm using the Trident A range on this just for the saturation. So again, I'm just controlling the peaks and boosting it up a couple dB again, just getting a little more extra level out of it. Let's see what console 1 is doing. All we have is a little boost at 157 Hertz and a little cut at 390 Hertz, or 39 kilohertz, sorry. Those are both around 4 dB, and then a little high end at 4.4 kilohertz. It's really not making a huge difference to the sound as such. It's just adding a little sweetness. All right, it's just a little cleaner, a little more cutting through. And then the compressor. This is a FET compressor, soft tube FET compressor Mark II. So it's a 1176 style, okay? I have it set up at 8-to-1. Really, it's just to hit some peaks, just to cut some peaks. It's not impacting the sound all that much. I have a little bit of drive, and that's mostly just adding boost. Again, it's not, it's just a little bit more saturation. Again, it is not making a huge difference to the sound, okay? Then let's turn on the drum verb. I believe I'm going to have to, there we go, turn it on. I'm using FabFilter Pro R2 here. All right, and I'm just using the built-in EQ, pulling down a little of the low mids, and a cut up high at 12,000 Hertz, a cut down low at 157 Hertz, a little bit of the low end pulled down on the decay rate EQ so that the low ends will die off a bit faster than the rest of the EQ, and a little boost at, what is this, 1173, just under 1200 Hertz. On the decay rate, so those frequencies will ring a little bit longer, okay? It's not a really long reverb. You can see here it's 1.71 seconds. And I got the brightness cranked up a bit. If you know about this plugin, you understand how it works. The width is at 100%, and that's the thing with the reverb on the drums, is to help add that space, that sense of a nice sounding space, okay? So there's the snare. We have console 1 on this as well. Let's hear the difference. So you can hear a little more high end on that, obviously. That big high end boost is making quite a difference on the snare. A little bit more fullness at 150 Hertz, 10.1 kilohertz, 7.2 dB gain to get that high end ringing through, give that nice little bit of impact on the snare. And we have a compressor that is set post EQ using the American Class A from Softtube, punchy mode on it. 6-to-1 ratio. I like 6-to-1 for drums. What could I say? That's where I like to be, right in that zone. Attack 23 milliseconds, so fairly slow. Release is at the slowest it can be for this compressor. Is still a bit long for some compressors. This one's is 300 milliseconds. Okay. So there you hear it without compressor and EQ with it on. So it's just adding a little bit of extra punch. That snare doesn't get played a lot throughout the song. It's just helping to smooth things out. Help it to cut through a little better. There's also the snare bottom, which I just have it on. It sounds like this. Okay, that's all you're getting on that. I have it quite low, and there's actually, I believe, no processing on that at all. Okay, it's just left as is. Don't have it too loud. Let me turn it up. Where we at? 21.1. So there you go. I don't like it to be too loud. I just have it down low, adding a little bit of that rattle, okay? Let's turn on the reverb on that as well. Yeah, so the Timbali is next. Oops, wrong channel. Here we go. Let's see what we did with this. First thing, the channel itself is gated when they recorded it. It's gated really nicely, so we don't have to clean it up at all. And first thing I did, I put some saturation on it. It's not overly distorting it. It's adding some boost and some saturation to the sound overall. So there you go. It is definitely, giving it a bit more drive. And the impact of that in the end is it's also raising the level, which could be adjusted, but I left it there due to where the original levels were set. Then we're using console 1. So cut out quite a bit of the low end on this, right? At 38 hertz, I have a big bell getting pulled down 11.5 dB. And then a little bit of low end cut on that as well at 200 hertz. Okay. And a bit of high end boost, 2.4 kilohertz, 8.4 dB. And that's just the way I wanted the Timbali to sound for this song. There's a range where it could be that high end boost doesn't have to be that high. It could be lower. Yeah, so there's a range where you could be there. This is just where I thought it sounded right for this song. And we have the compressor. The compressor is hitting before the EQ, and you should experiment with that on your instruments, see where you like your compressor to sit, pre or post. Some people will EQ, compress, and EQ again afterwards, because sometimes compressors can suck some of the top end out of stuff. Also, if you have a lot of frequencies that you want to cut out of your sound, you might not want those hitting the compressor first. But I usually get by with just one compressor, one EQ. I'm using the American Class A by Softtube, again, inside of console 1. My ratio is at 6.1 to 1, 6 to 1. That's where I like to be around on drums, as I said. 24 milliseconds attack, and the fastest release on this is 3 milliseconds. And I'm using the punchy compressor. There's a couple different options for this, and this one is punchy, so suitable for drums for sure. And you can hear the difference on that impact there with it off and on. Okay, so we're definitely getting a little more snap turn the reverb on. As the sound is gated so nice, the reverb just helps it ring out, but we don't have to deal with the ringing of the instrument itself. So we just get a nice tail on the reverb there with that timbali. Hi-hats next. Let's move on. Yeah, okay, so I didn't use console 1 for anything. I just EQ'd it here using Cubase's stock EQ. So let's turn the bands off. First thing I did is put a cut. Always the first thing I like to do is cut frequencies if I'm cutting, whether it's a big low cut or even just band cuts. I like to find the frequencies that I want to remove first. And there it is with the high end kicked in. I'm at 11.6 hertz, 14.2 dB. It's a big boost. Puts a lot of sizzle on that hi-hat. You got to watch the level when you're boosting the high end so much, but you know, that's how I like that nice light sounding reggae hi-hat, honestly. So that's the vibes I like to get out of it, and I love the way he's playing it. That little swing he's got on it just sounds so great. All right, toms are next. Let's go down this area of the song here. So now we're getting into some of the first elements that I panned a bit. So we have the high tom panned to the right at 51. The mid tom is panned to the right at 23, and the floor tom is over left 46. Okay, let's see what the processing is like on these. Let's solo that, the high tom. All right, so we have the gate on here, cutting out some of the bleed that's in between. Then there's a bit of high-end EQ at 5 hertz, 5 kilohertz, excuse me, 5.2 dB boost. Low mid cut, 300 hertz, 5.2 dB. 100 hertz boost, 2.9 dB. And I like to do that a lot with toms, that little 100 hertz boost, depending on the tom itself and how it's tuned, but somewhere, you know, you get a nice little bit of a low-end boost in there. And we have our compressor set, of course, and the compressor is hitting before the EQ, as you can see here. We are using the British Class A again, 20 milliseconds, attack, 6:1 ratio, and 100 milliseconds release. So that's how the toms are sounding. I did mute the EQ in there. It's a bit difficult to hear. Let's listen again to the toms alone here. With the EQs muted, and I'll turn them on. EQ's on now. All right. So again, it's not a huge impact, but just getting a little more of that low end punch and getting rid of some of the muddiness, getting a bit more of the high end attack. Let's listen to the overheads now. I didn't do any processing on the 2 overhead channels there. I sent them to a group, and the processing is all done here. Okay, let's take a listen. All right, so there's that. Let's get the volume back down on these, around to where it was. So let's turn off this EQ and hear the difference it makes as we kick in each band. And the compressor itself is not doing a lot. It's at a low ratio, 1.5 to 1. I put it on mostly for the drive, just to add some saturation to this channel. Slowest attack, fairly fast release, okay? And that's all it's doing. It's not working a lot, as you can see, but on the bigger hits, it will just help add a little bit of control. Right, and the EQ, again, cutting some of those low mids at around 360 hertz, 5.5 dB, bit of a narrow band. Then a little boost of the shelf at just over 10 kilohertz, 8.9 dB, kicking up that high end, and a little bit of a bell boost at 11.3 kilohertz. 3.9 dB, and a cut at 100 hertz, a low end cut, a high pass filter on there. And again, that's just getting rid of some rumble. There's not sound playing down there all the time, but on certain hits there is some, so I'm just getting that out. And we'll listen to the drums with and without this channel in, so you can hear the impact it's having. Definitely adding a nice sense of space to the drum sound overall and to the song. It really helps give, although it's live drums and you got a live drum feel, but if you don't have those room mics on, you're going to be lacking something in the sound for sure. So that about wraps it up right now. We will hit back another video and move into the vocals and instruments again, okay? So thanks for checking it out, Reggae family. Go make some music. How you mean?